Today we're discussing uranium and nuclear energy in the global economy, why this could be one of the most important commodities for the next 20 to 30 years, in my opinion. So we'll break it down from the thesis and the narrative, really explain the supply and demand side, how these different countries have played out with Fukushima, Japan really shaking a lot of the weak hands out of the nuclear energy business without really understanding that this is the main energy source that's supplying America. So currently over 52% of America's energy comes from nuclear. And a lot of people hear nuclear energy in the stigma in their head. I think if they don't really study these commodity industries, if they don't understand what uranium is, how the energy sector works, they go, oh, nuclear energy, that must be dirty energy. No, it's actually the opposite. This is actually one of the most important carbon-free pieces of energy that we have in the macroeconomic situation. So what's important to understand here is, yes, well, 52% of the US's supply of energy comes from nuclear, which is powered by uranium, by the way. That's kind of this thesis here. And with this, 10% of the global energy supply comes from nuclear. So when you go, okay, so the US may be ahead in a lot of places. I'm currently here in Turkey, and a lot of people, if you talk to expats, if you talk to different people that are going around looking for different emerging market investments, most people kind of think about different countries being a certain amount of years behind. So maybe the Balkan region, which I was exploring a lot in with Serbia, Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, many different opportunities there. Some people would say 10 to 15 years behind. Now you have places like India and Africa. I think there's some very interesting opportunities there. And when you look at India, especially, and you contrast this, okay, the U.S. has 52% in nuclear energy, which is a good thing, by the way. You have to understand this. I have another video on nuclear energy investing, why it's very important to understand the positives of this. And again, I think it may be this media bias. A lot of people, like TV shows, maybe people growing up saw like The Simpsons, where there was this like kind of narrative painted that nuclear energy is like a bad thing, or that it's like this thing that constantly has hazards. Well, in reality, with Fukushima, the only reason that this tragedy happened was because of an earthquake. And a lot of people, again, they hear nuclear energy and disaster and they think it's because of the nuclear energy. This is rarely the case if it's used for energy purposes, proper, innovative purposes. So again, as I was talking about, India, over 60%, it's right around 2/3 actually, of India's energy source, just like in the United States, 52% is nuclear. In India, guess what it is? Coal. They're still on coal. Now, well, some people think investing in coal is a great commodity. I don't necessarily knock them, but personally, I'm more looking for what is going to be these future energy sources, just like I talked about with electric vehicle batteries and infrastructure for 5G technology. Well, with these things, I've made multiple videos on this, but you look at things like cobalt, nickel, you want to look at copper, lithium, many different things here, and there's some smaller commodities that you can also look at, because it doesn't matter which individual company will be the best 5G company or the best electrical vehicle company. What's more important, in my opinion, is what do each of these companies need to build the infrastructure of tomorrow, to build the infrastructure of the future. And with President Biden saying that they're going to replace the fleet of United States vehicles with electric by, I can't remember the exact, maybe he said 2030, but something like this. He put basically this statement out, and I think long term, if you look at what are, just like if you're thinking about, okay, what's the best way to invest in a new country if they're building all these houses and building all these roads? Is it buying real estate there, or is it investing in a concrete company, a cement company? This is kind of, again, this is what I talked about in that global investment framework video, how when a lot of people are just shiny object syndrome, just like in the electric vehicle space with Tesla, you should be looking at, okay, what does Tesla need to build the cars of tomorrow? What does Nikola need? What does NIO need to build the cars of tomorrow? What do these 5G companies need to build the technology of tomorrow? That's what I look at. And that's why I think that video is so important. So definitely go check that video out. But as I was talking about, when you kind of contrast these different things going on around the world, with India with around 2/3 of their energy source coming from coal, with the United States with around 52% of their energy coming from nuclear, you have to go, okay, what is powering nuclear? And this is uranium. This is why I personally think uranium is incredibly undervalued, especially when you contrast this with things like copper in this electrical vehicle play, because people have already kind of identified this narrative. Now, some of the lesser known commodities, I talked a lot about the ones that people know about, but there are some lesser known commodities. Maybe I'll do a video on that these companies do need to build these EV batteries. But copper has already had a huge rise. Now, I think, could it have more room to grow? Sure. You have to think of these things in probabilities, not think of could copper go up or could it go down? This is too binary. This is too black and white. Or think about, will uranium go up or go down? Again, remove that way of thinking. Think about it in probabilities. Pull out a calculator and really think ahead on these things. So what's important here is to look at the historical uranium chart, in my opinion. Now it's been around, $25 for a long time. It kind of rose to this $30 level. I personally think where I have my targets set is around $50 to $60. Fairly, medium to short term, I think, as far as this goes. Once people really start to understand the thesis here with uranium investing, I think it's very important. That's why I continue to dollar cost average into an asset class like this and many other commodities. Now, we don't just talk about commodities on the channel. We talk about a lot of different investment sectors when it comes to real estate, stocks, bonds. Even though bond market, I made a video on, is bonds a good investment for 2021? Go watch that video. Also, some alternative investment classes, a little bit more high risk, high return, with things in the blockchain space, especially in this crazy bull run with cryptocurrency just going absolutely ballistic. Actually, the day I'm recording this, Coinbase has its IPO. So again, it's all about identifying these narratives. And again, with uranium, what's most important, in my opinion, is seeing, okay, when you look at crisis investing, when you look at emerging market investing, what's important is to go, okay, when everybody's looking this way, when the media is telling everyone one thing, when society's kind of been programmed to think, okay, nuclear energy is bad, and they don't understand that the people that are focused on the green revolution are with nuclear energy, yet the underlying commodity that powers all of this happening, uranium, is incredibly undervalued. It still is so low. So again, when you kind of combine all these things together, and again, this is a very high level overview. I could do an in-depth video with actually going into charts. I did this previously with that electric vehicle video, but let me know in the comments if you'd want to see something like this. This is basically just explaining the thesis, the narrative around uranium. I continue to invest in this. Obviously, this is not financial advice. This is used for educational purposes. You should always do your own research. That's why I always have that video linked down below in the description, how to DYOR, how to look at things from sentimental analysis, fundamental analysis, and technical analysis, and combine those. So really what we're talking about today is more sentimental and fundamental analysis. I can do a video looking at the actual charts, but again, this is a very long-term play in my opinion. So many people are looking for that quick fix. It's kind of this ADHD society where it's people just only focusing in on the short-term flip. And that's why I think a lot of people that are just tunnel visioned into Forex, or just tunnel visioned into cryptocurrency, or just tunnel visioned into stocks have kind of a large problem when it comes to having a long time horizon, because they get so focused in on this that they fail to realize that these things will play out longer. It's again kind of the Stoic versus the Epicurean way of thinking. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. So essentially, what you want to understand here with uranium is something like Fukushima actually kind of mess up a lot of the supply with this issue. So I think that obviously the demand continues to increase. More countries are trying to adopt this, moving to more clean energy. And nuclear energy is really leading the charge in this space. It was, before 2010, Fukushima happened in 2011 in Japan. Again, that kind of scared a lot of people. France said they were going to shut things down. Germany said they were going to shut things down with some nuclear reactors. And now, Kazakhstan. I struggle with pronouncing it. It's something about the way my tonal. But Kazakhstan is the #1 producer of uranium, and a lot of people don't even know how to invest in the miners in Kazakhstan. So maybe I will do a video on this. It's all about just like a lot of people don't know how to invest in Mongolia, or I'm here in Turkey. A lot of people don't know how to get a brokerage account in these different countries, and that's why I like to go boots on the ground and actually be able to open a brokerage account, not just people trading on Robinhood or whatever fintech application platform where you only have exposure to, in my opinion, way overvalued United States stocks that are trading at ridiculous multiples of their earnings, versus you look at a country like Iran, which I've talked about, and investing in Iran could be one of the best countries to invest in my opinion, and just like Kazakhstan, who's producing the majority of the uranium. So anyways, that's all for today's video. I apologize if it went off on some tangents, but merging all this together, maybe I'll do another video on uranium, nuclear energy. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely subscribe to this channel. We talk about, like I said, all kinds of investment strategies, with the main focus right now being on kind of innovative technology with a lot of the things in the decentralized finance space with blockchain. We're talking a lot about commodities, and I will start probably doing some real estate videos. I've been touring a lot of real estate, but haven't necessarily had the time to just record it for this channel. Anyways, that's all for this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our videos. As always, invest global, and until next time.